March 15th, 44 BC. Dawn breaks over Rome. Julius Caesar wakes to screaming. His wife Calpurnia thrashes in their bed, tears streaming down her face. In her nightmare, she held him as he bled out in her arms, his life pouring through her fingers. "Don't go to the Senate," she begs him. "Please." He dismisses her. Women's fears. But then the priests arrive with troubling news. They've examined the sacrificial animals. The omens are wrong. No heart in the last sacrifice. The entrails spell doom. And then there's the fortune teller. That strange old man who grabbed Caesar's arm in the street weeks ago, his eyes wild with prophecy. Beware the Ides of March. March 15th. Today, Caesar laughs it off. Superstition. He's survived wars, conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon. He is the most powerful man in the known world. He has 6 hours to live. Let's be clear about something. Julius Caesar was not the hero your history teacher sold you. Yes, he was brilliant. Yes, he was charismatic. But Caesar was also the man who committed genocide in Gaul, killing over 1 million people. The man who marched his army into Rome itself, breaking every sacred law the Republic held. The man who just declared himself dictator perpetuo, dictator for life. He'd essentially murdered the Roman Republic in everything but name. For 500 years, Rome had been governed by the Senate. Power was shared, debated, balanced. No single man wore a crown. That was the one thing Romans feared above all else: a king. They'd violently overthrown their last king 5 centuries ago and swore it would never happen again. But now, Caesar was king in all but title, and everyone knew it. In the shadows of Rome's marble columns, a conspiracy was forming. Not a handful of angry senators. No, this was something far more organized, far more terrifying. Over 60 senators were involved. They called themselves the Liberators. Their leaders? Gaius Cassius Longinus, a brilliant military mind with a grudge, and Marcus Junius Brutus, the man Caesar loved like a son. Perhaps because he was his son. But we'll get to that. These weren't random assassins. These were Rome's elite, meeting in secret, whispering in code, planning the death of the most powerful man on earth. And they'd chosen their moment perfectly. March 15th, the Senate meeting, where Caesar would be surrounded, unarmed, and completely vulnerable. The planning was meticulous, clinical. They met in each other's homes after dark, voices low, doors guarded. They used code words in public. Some even practiced the stabbing motion in private, over and over, so their hands wouldn't shake when the moment came. The location was genius, Pompey's theater, where the Senate was temporarily meeting. Roman law forbade anyone from carrying weapons inside a Senate session. Caesar would be defenseless. His personal guards would wait outside. But here's the part that will shock you. The conspirators had thought of everything. They knew Caesar's right-hand man, Mark Antony, would be a problem. Antony was fiercely loyal, a skilled general, and he'd be armed outside the Senate. So they assigned one of the conspirators, Gaius Trebonius, to distract him. Keep him talking in the courtyard while it happened inside. They had a backup plan, too. If Caesar didn't show up to the Senate, they'd kill him at the gladiator games the next day, in front of thousands. They didn't care. He had to die. The weapons? Daggers hidden in their togas, concealed in document scrolls. Each senator would carry one, so no single person could be blamed. They'd all share the blood. But Brutus was different. Marcus Brutus was Caesar's favorite. Some whispered Caesar had once had an affair with Brutus's mother, Servilia, during the exact time Brutus was conceived. The math added up. The resemblance was there. And Caesar protected Brutus with a fierce, paternal devotion that made people wonder. Could Brutus really kill his own father? Cassius knew Brutus was the key. The conspiracy needed him, not just for his political weight, but for the symbolism. If even Brutus turned against Caesar, it would prove the dictator had gone too far. So, Cassius manipulated him, left anonymous letters where Brutus would find them, supposedly from concerned citizens. Brutus, are you truly Brutus? Your ancestor overthrew the last king. Will you let this tyrant stand? It worked. Brutus convinced himself this was noble, necessary, that he was saving Rome. He didn't realize he was about to destroy it. The morning of March 15th didn't feel like other mornings. Calpurnia's nightmare had shaken even Caesar. She rarely asked him for anything, but now she was on her knees, begging him not to leave the house. The priests backed her up. The omens were undeniable. Something was wrong. For a moment, Caesar hesitated. Maybe he should stay home. Send word he was ill. Then Decimus Brutus arrived. Not Marcus Brutus, his older, distant relative Decimus, a smooth talker, a manipulator, and one of the chief conspirators. "You can't skip the Senate meeting," Decimus said casually, pouring wine. "They're planning to offer you the crown today. If you don't show up, it'll look like weakness, like you're afraid of your own wife's dreams." The crown. The thing Caesar wanted but could never admit to wanting. Decimus knew exactly what to say. Caesar stood, adjusted his purple toga. "Tell Calpurnia, I'm going." The walk through Rome's streets should have warned him. People stared. Some looked away. The air felt heavy, electric, like the moments before a lightning strike. Then a man pushed through the crowd, a teacher named Artemidorus. He thrust a rolled parchment into Caesar's hand. "Read this immediately," he hissed. "It concerns you greatly." Caesar took it, but didn't unroll it. Too many other people were handing him petitions, requests, greetings. He tucked it under his arm. Later. That note listed every conspirator by name. He never read it. Inside Pompey's theater, the atmosphere was suffocating. The Senate chamber was crowded, too crowded. Senators pressed close, their faces sweaty despite the cool March air. Caesar took his golden chair, essentially a throne, and looked around. The conspirators were scattered throughout the room, hands hidden in their togas, hearts hammering. Some were pale, barely holding it together. Others wore frozen smiles. Cassius caught Brutus's eye across the chamber. A tiny nod. It was time. What happened next took less than 2 minutes, but ended 500 years of history. Tullius Cimber approached Caesar with a petition, something about his exiled brother. Caesar waved him off. "We've discussed this already." But Cimber kept pressing, getting closer, then closer still. And then he grabbed Caesar's toga, yanked it down from his shoulder. The signal. Casca struck first, stabbing at Caesar's neck from behind. But Caesar was fast, even at 55, even caught off guard, and he caught Casca's wrist. "Casca, you madman, what are you doing?" Then the others rushed in, all at once, a forest of blades. Caesar tried to fight. He punched, kicked. His voice thundered through the chamber. But there were too many of them, surrounding him, stabbing from every angle. Blood sprayed across the marble floor. 23 times they stabbed him. Each senator taking his turn, ensuring all would share the guilt. And then Caesar saw him. Brutus, stepping forward with his dagger. The ancient historians disagree on what Caesar said in that moment. Shakespeare gave us "et tu, Brute," and "you, Brutus," in Latin. But the Greek historian Suetonius recorded something different. something more heartbreaking. Kesi, teknon? You too, child? In Greek, the language of intimacy, of private conversations between educated Romans. Child, not friend. Child. Brutus plunged his dagger into Caesar's groin, and Caesar stopped fighting. He pulled his toga up over his head, his last act of dignity, to die with his face covered, and collapsed at the base of Pompey's statue, his old rival, the man he'd defeated in civil war. The irony was almost poetic. Julius Caesar, who had conquered Gaul, Britain, and the known world, bled out on the Senate floor, killed by men he'd called friends. By sunset, he was dead. The conspirators stood there, covered in blood, daggers dripping. They expected trumpets, cheers, crowds hailing them as heroes who'd saved the Republic. They were so wrong. People poured into the streets when word spread, but not to celebrate. They were furious, horrified. Caesar had been popular with the common people. He'd given them land, grain, entertainment. And these senators, these wealthy elites, had just butchered him like an animal. The Liberators had to run for their lives. But worse was coming. 3 days later, Mark Antony stood before Caesar's corpse in the Forum, and he delivered a speech that would echo through history. Shakespeare didn't make this up. Antony really did turn the entire city against the conspirators with his words. Friends, Romans, countrymen. He showed them Caesar's bloody, punctured toga. Let them see what their senators had done. Rome exploded into riots. The conspirators fled the city in terror, their grand plan collapsing into chaos. Within 2 years, almost every single one of them was dead. Cassius died at the Battle of Philippi, falling on his own sword as Brutus's army was defeated. Brutus followed shortly after, also suicide, unable to live with what he'd done. And this is where it gets truly disturbing. They'd killed Caesar to save the Republic, but their assassination triggered a massive civil war, a power vacuum, blood in the streets for over a decade. And when the dust settled, Caesar's adopted son, a teenager named Octavian, had seized absolute power. He became Rome's first emperor, renamed himself Augustus. The Republic was dead. Everything the conspirators feared about Caesar, the crown, the absolute power, the end of the Republic, all of it came true anyway. Except now it was permanent. The darkest irony, by killing Caesar, they ensured his vision would triumph. The Roman Empire was born from his blood. But here's what still haunts historians. Was Brutus really Caesar's son? The timeline fits. The favoritism was obvious. And if he was, did Caesar know? Did he see his own child coming at him with a dagger and choose not to fight anymore? And what about Caesar himself? Did he want to die? Some scholars believe he was sick, that he knew his health was failing, that he welcomed a dramatic, legendary death over a slow decline. It would explain why he ignored every warning, why he didn't read Artemidorus's note, why he walked into that Senate chamber despite every omen screaming at him to stay home. Did Caesar orchestrate his own martyrdom? Then there's the number, 60 conspirators. But only about 15 actually stabbed him. Who were the others? What role did they play? Some names have been lost to history. Senators who attended the planning meetings but disappeared from the record. And those omens, the ones Romans documented before his death, they were real events. Animals without hearts in sacrifices, lightning striking Caesar's statue, strange lights in the sky. Were they coincidence? Mass hysteria? Or did the universe itself try to warn him? We'll never know. March 15th, 44. BC changed human history. It ended 500 years of the Roman Republic. It spawned the Roman Empire, which shaped Western civilization for the next 5 centuries. our laws, our government structures, our very concept of empire, all of it traces back to the ripples from Caesar's assassination. It became the blueprint for every political coup that followed, the template for revolution, for justified murder, for violence in the name of saving democracy. And 1600 years later, a playwright named William Shakespeare made it immortal. We still say, "Beware the Ides of March." We still reference "Et tu, Brute." We still debate whether the ends justify the means, whether killing a tyrant saves freedom or destroys it. The lesson? Violence in the name of saving democracy often destroys the very thing it claims to protect. The Liberators thought they were heroes. Instead, they became history's greatest cautionary tale. A reminder that the road to tyranny is paved with noble intentions and the blood of the powerful. Caesar died on the Senate floor, but his legacy conquered the world. The assassination of Caesar triggered the rise of Rome's first emperor and changed Western civilization forever. But there's another Roman mystery even darker: the day an entire legion vanished into the forests of Germany and was never seen again. Should that be the next video? Let me know below. And if you want to see what other dark corners of history hide secrets like this, hit subscribe. Trust me, the rabbit hole goes deeper than you think.